All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would kindly take your seats, we will shortly begin our next session. All right, everybody. Welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed the morning and got to know each other a little bit better during the coffee break. It's time to dive into a topic that's reshaping how we think about sport. Esports. Esports is not just a trend, it's a movement, redefining competition, community, and performance in the digital age. But what is esports exactly? Is it a sport? Are gamers athletes? How do we move beyond the stereotypes to truly understand this evolving world? To help us look beyond the stereotypes and truly understand what esports represents, I am pleased to welcome Professor Hee-jung Hong. She's an associate professor in sport at the University of Stirling, whose research bridges traditional sport and esports, focusing on athletic career pathways, transitions, and dual careers. A chartered psychologist with the British Psychological Society, Professor Hong has contributed groundbreaking work on how athletes and players develop, perform, and adapt through their careers. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hong.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning. Thank you for your time. I'm very pleased to be here. My name is Hee-jung Hong, as you can see there, but from Scotland, although I'm Korean. So I'm going to talk about esports, a very exciting topic for today. So as a researcher, I extensively investigated the experience of high-performance athletes to support their career development and transition, such as life after sports and dual career. And later, I extended my research interest to esports. That's why I'm here. But also, I'm also a daily gamer. So it might not be right to say I'm an esports player, so we can figure this out as we learn more about esports during my session, okay? So I spent about 12 years completing my PhD and working at University of Stirling and the Scotland University for sporting excellence. So in the morning, I can see this beautiful campus, but it's rainy all the time. And also, we are very proud. We have a lot of high-performance athletes, including Olympians like Duncan Scott, the swimmer, who is the most decorated athlete in the British history. So if you go to the sports center, you can see him having breakfast roll. And this is the environment I'm in, which might be difficult to get involved in esports. Still, I'm here to talk about esports. That's me. So what is esports? And academics like to define terms, but unfortunately, it is very challenging to define. Why is this a case? First of all, esports is still a relatively new and evolving, ever-changing phenomenon. And also, it is shaped by advancing technology and new game title released. Also, there is no clear governing structure yet. And then also, esports involved different multiple domains such as sports, culture, technology, and art. And it also covers a wide range of games, platform, publishers, and other key stakeholders. However, as I said, academics like to define terms. There are a lot of different definitions. However, those definitions share a common element. So based on this commonality, the most up-to-date definition is as follows. Esports is an organized and codified competition between human players using video games. However, for today, I would like you to understand esports as a contemporary form of competitive performance. This is my definition for today. And I would like to introduce another very inspiring definition here. During the media press at the last Asian Game in Hangzhou, the iconic figure in the esports industry, Faker, was asked if esports is sport. This is a very tricky, challenging question. This is his answer. I would like to read out. While sports is traditionally associated with a physical activity, its true value lies in the positive impact that preparation, competition can have on people. If the act of competing and striving inspires others, that to me reflects the essence of esports. So many people are inspired, including myself, and about what definition would you prefer? So based on these different definitions we just covered, I'm not an esports player, but casual gamer. Because the game I play does not have any structured, organized competition. Although I have a number one rival, daily rival, who is actually in this room, my mom over there in the back. So we play this game every day, and also we competed with each other. Even this morning, my mom wanted to beat me, so just keep playing game. But the mobile game we play does not have any organized competition. So esports involves both in-game and out-of-game regulation. This is a huge difference between esports and casual gaming. So now I'm going to move on to esports genre, but don't be surprised. I will give you some moment to take a look at this figure. But don't worry, I'm not going to cover all of them today, but I have simplified these esports categories. Okay, many people took a picture, so. Okay. The most significant features of virtual sports is to involve physical activity and also reflect the real-world sports, and such as virtual taekwondo and drift for cycling. Whereas simulated sports does not involve the physical activity exactly, but does reflect real-world sports, such as football and basketball. But unlike virtual sports and simulated sports, traditional sports are not based on the real-world sports. However, they include some of the most well-known and popular games in the world, like League of Legends, as we learned before the coffee break. Since we are all in Seoul, welcome to Seoul, by the way, and I'm Korean, so I'm going to talk about the history of esports in Korea a little bit. In early 1990s, due to the growth of PC communication network, people started to form online game community. Within this community, they organized a small tournament and competition, and also share strategy online. And this became the most significant part of esports later on. PC bangs and StarCraft are very important in our history. The PC bang means internet cafe. As you can see in the picture, there are a lot of PC bang in South Korea. The young people just go and play game together. There are hundreds of very high-speed internet PC are there. But behind, we have a little bit sad history. In 1997, South Korea faced a very terrible financial crisis, which sadly many people lost their job. Among those people who used to work for IT company, they started their personal business by opening PC bang, which significantly contribute to affordable access to fast internet. In the following year, in 1998, StarCraft was released, which sparked esports culture in South Korea. The small scale of a local tournament and turned into the league, and this is when the pro gamer first emerged. Here is a more important milestone in our history. So between 1998 and 2000, professional leagues were established. And then also, people could watch the esports game on TV in early 2000. And in 2000, the Korea Esports Association, KESPA, was established, which plays a significant role in the growth of esports in South Korea. In the same year, World Cyber Game was held in Seoul. Since then, Seoul has become a global esports hub. 2 years later, pro gaming was officially recognized as a proper job. As I mentioned earlier, in early 2000, people could watch esports game on TV. It's already very popular because OnGameNet was launched as the world's first esports TV channel and stadium. The scale of audience as well, as you can see here, became massive. You have to remember it's almost 25 years ago. Lastly, or more importantly, major companies like Samsung, the global company in the world, started supporting professional esports team. So, even though it's a very brief history of esports in South Korea, and then you can imagine Korean people play esports and game together in the PC bang, and this became the most significant culture and social activity among young people. Why are we enjoying this? Any idea from Korean audience? Because we are very competitive culturally. Okay? Therefore, esports became a symbol of a modern Korean culture. Accordingly, the Korean model of professional leagues, sponsorship, and broadcasting became very influential. So now I'm moving on to esports business and revenue generation. Just for now, I'm going to provide an overview of revenue sources and costs of key esports stakeholders. A bit different from traditional sports, but in the esports industry, the key stakeholders include players, professional teams, esports organization, game publishers, tournament organizers, esports bookmakers, as well as esports fans. So if we take a look at a couple of examples, the source of income for players include prize money, individual sponsorship, endorsement, and donation on stream. The costs they require include training expenses, travel expenses, and equipment, and more. Whereas the source of revenue for the game publishers involve sponsorship, game sales, in-game purchases, and licensing. The cost they need to cover include game development, marketing, esports sponsorship. Therefore, major revenue drivers are sponsorship, online platforms and digital products, media and streaming, and merchandise and brand extension, as well as event tourism, which are similar to the one in the sports industry except online platforms and digital products. So, what opportunity could there be for host city if you are interested in? So, similar to hosting sports mega events like Olympic Games and World Championship, boosting local economy, also enhancing global visibility could be the key benefits. However, more importantly, in terms of esports context, engaging youth and community would be a really important advantage. And then also given that we are at the Smart Cities and Sports Summit, leveraging smart infrastructure will be an also important opportunity for the host cities. Okay? Now already we are moving on to the final part of my presentation, which I'm most excited about. So bridges between sports and esports, which I'm the most interested in recent years. So this is the research project that I recently conducted with the support of IOC. And then if you want me to talk about all the results of this project, it will be more than 2 hours, and I'm not going to bore you. So therefore, during this session, I would like to share some interesting and very inspiring and very insightful data from the project. So this picture, I put it because I want to show off to be with Faker. Thankfully and luckily, and 5 very high-profile Korean Olympians and professional esports, they are top tier of athletes and players. They participated in this project. And I couldn't imagine if this is going to happen, but it happened. So I got a lot of support from different people, different organizations. So we had a confidential discussion, confidential forum with these 11 players and athletes. And then also I conducted each individual interview for each player and athlete. So therefore, that's why the result is huge. Okay, but of course I'm going to publish a paper, but probably you wouldn't want to read it. It's quite long and boring. But from here, I would like to introduce some of the direct quotes from the Olympians. So the first quote is from the Olympian who won the gold medal at the recent Olympic. Esports is equivalent to high-performance sports. That's what he highlighted. And also, including him and other athletes and Olympians who mainly train at the National Training Center, they also agree we sometimes hold esports tournament at the National Training Center with athletes from different sports participating. The athletes are extremely competitive. I'm not sure about the context of other countries, but at least from the evidence from my project, and also I talked to and interviewed a range of Olympians in South Korea, and esports is a part of their leisure activity, and then this is one of the significant way that they release their stress, cope with their challenges, and then also they just got together at the National Training Center, which is a very interesting finding that I would like to highlight. So this last quote is from the most well-known, high-profile athlete in our history. She mentioned, even about 7, 8 years ago. So I conducted this project last year. So even 7 or 8 years ago, I felt that esports would soon overtake traditional sports. So even these top tier Olympians could see esports is coming, esports is growing. Since Faker spoke about this in public, that's why I can share this with you for today. So he strongly highlighted we, esports players, don't have a structured system for organizing our training schedule with consideration for our health and well-being. Unlike athlete, high-performance athlete, who follow structured training program that include physio session, strict timeline, and nutrition support and more. This is another interesting finding because the top player in the esports industry, he appreciates the well-established support and system in sports. There I could see esports and sports can collaborate together. As a result, I do hope we will soon see stronger collaboration between sports and esports. And I hope you enjoy my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Hong. Before we begin the next session, we're going to actually invite you to come and have a seat.
Okay.
Get comfortable because we have a couple of questions for you. So we'll get in nice and comfortable here. As someone who has their mom and aunt in the audience, I'd like to first say, Professor Hong, 어머님 안녕하세요. In Korea, we do this. Before we sit down, we say hello because as the topic of esports is so relevant to us today, I think one thing that is very worth mentioning is that we wouldn't be here without the advancements of the previous generation.
Yeah.
I'm going to dive right in. Your work on athlete-player transitions is fascinating. What is the career trajectory like for an esport athlete? Is it longer or shorter?
That's a really good question that I had this question quite often. So if you think about high performance athlete, maybe 10, 20 years ago, and we expect that they may retire just before 30, depending on the sports, they might retire and also they are lucky and then they maintain their physicality and also mentality, then maybe they can compete until mid-30. However, I just see that esports career is quite intense, as much as a high-performance athlete. And unfortunately, at this current situation, I think esports career can be much shorter than high-performance athlete. Although we see the great example of a Faker, and because his career is such a long and it's really inspiring. However, most of esports player, even though they are professional level, and their career is quite short. That's why I, as a researcher about the career development and transition, this is very important for industry and stakeholder to consider how we support young players if they face the transition maybe earlier. So that's probably my answer to your question.
That's actually very insightful because you would think that because they aren't high-performing athletes, their career would be much longer. But when you think about it, the intensity factor and the psychological burnout that they could potentially face is actually very great. My next question for you is, Esports often faces stereotypes like isolation or addiction or lack of physical activity. What are some of the misconceptions that you would like to challenge?
Probably, I can say every player does that. But when you think about sedentary style is the probably parents really hate about esports. And however, if you take a look at the esports players, especially at the professional level, they are fit. And then they have to train physically to play better, perform better. So that's one of the things that I would like to challenge it. And also the social isolation. So many parents, I just wanted to talk about parents because they are key stakeholder from my perspective. So they are concerned because if your children play a game in their room and they will be really isolated and they don't develop their social skill. However, this is a new way of developing social bond and connection among young people. So that's something that I would like to previous generation and parents would like to consider. That's the young people, digital generation, how they develop their social network and social connection among peers. Yeah.
That actually answers my next question for you, which was what are the positive outcomes that you see in maybe teamworking or critical solving skills?
So social interaction, social skills are the number one I would like to highlight. I remember, and when I was young, and I still play game with my brothers. Although I dominate playing games, so my brother wouldn't be happy. Yeah, next to my mom. But social skill definitely they develop massively through the esports and then also teamwork. Most of the popular games in the world at the moment, like a League of Legends, is a team sports. That's why teamwork and communication skill are very, very important. So social skill and communication skill probably comes together. And if I give another positives, and probably decision making. Yeah, so many of the game requires strategy and concentration. So there are a lot of employability skill as well. So I just want people, and especially parents and the older generation, to consider these positive aspects of esports.
Wow, thank you so much. I have one off the cuff question for you.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us one gaming lingo? Just teach us one gaming word.
Gaming world.
Or gaming word, like a word that we wouldn't know, you know?
Ooh, probably that's the question for our panelists next time. Probably I can ask.
Okay. Well, that brings us on into our very next section. So, Dr. Hong, I will have you stay right here. Up next, we'll hear directly from the source. So,